You want to go to University of Richmond. I want to help you do it. My name is Craig Meister. I'm a college admissions coach. You can learn more about me and how you can work with me one-on-one throughout the entire college admissions process on my website, which is collegemeister.com. And if you're a younger student or a parent of one and interested in learning about whether or not you are or your student is on track for selective college admission in the United States of America, visit areyouontracktogetin.com. Again, that's areyouontracktogetin.com, at which you will complete a free 3-minute assessment. Your results will be emailed to you right away, and they will help you clarify whether or not you are or your student is on track for selective college admission in the United States of America. University of Richmond is a selective school in the great Commonwealth of Virginia. And it's a school, therefore, that we're going to dive into deeply today, at least as it relates to its admissions process, because I want to help you get in. Tip number 1, in the video description for this video, there is a link to my classic article, How to Get Into the Ivy League Ethically. I want you to read that article from start to finish. Absorb it carefully, because that's going to help you set a very strong foundation for yourself going into the summer before your senior year, so that all the pieces are in place for you to close the deal with Richmond when you apply as a high school senior. It's going to teach you everything you need to know about the foundational elements of getting into any highly selective school. Of course, University of Richmond is not an Ivy League institution, but it has certainly become more selective in recent years, and its average SAT and ACT scores have gone up quite a bit since I started doing this almost 2 decades ago. So you want to treat University of Richmond as a selective school on your list, because it is a selective institution, and you must treat it with respect. And reading that article and applying everything learned in that article to the University of Richmond will certainly support you on your quest to earn admission to University of Richmond. Tip number 2, if you are serious about getting into University of Richmond, you have to use your time wisely, and you must consider applying early decision 1 or early decision 2. If you are not willing or able to apply to a binding early plan, like early decision 1 or early decision 2 certainly are, meaning if you get into those plans, you are basically saying you will attend if admitted through those plans, then at the very least, apply to University of Richmond's early action deadline, which is also November 1st, and students here in late January. That's sort of splitting the difference. If you're not willing to commit to attend Richmond if you get in, but you are certainly interested in boosting your chances of getting in and also hearing early action is certainly the way to go. 66%, give or take, of applicants in recent cycles to Richmond have been accepted early decision 1, early decision 2, or early action cumulatively. That means only about 30%, less than 1/3, are being accepted regular decision. And that's when Richmond, of course, is getting the bulk of applications. And also, waitlist. About 4% have gotten off the waitlist in the most recently reported admission cycle. So, really, goodness gracious, please consider applying early decision 1 if University of Richmond is your first choice school. If University of Richmond is your second choice school, then apply early decision 2, and hopefully your first choice school offers early decision 1, or you've been notified by your first choice school by the early decision 2 deadline. And if Richmond is still high on your list and it's not your first or second choice, you don't want to commit to it because you want to play the field, then by goodness gracious, what are you doing if you're not applying early action to University of Richmond? Do it for me. Tip number 3, you want to take very seriously the writing on your application. And I'm assuming, if you're like most applicants, you're going to be applying to Richmond via the Common Application, both below, also known as the Common App, of course. That's probably the correct branding and terminology these days. So below the video that you are watching right now, in the video description, is where you can find links to my previous very valuable videos, free to you right here on this medium, YouTube, for you to peruse carefully. And these videos explain how you can draft and ultimately create a final draft of your Common App essay that is going to check all the right boxes for not only Richmond, but any highly selective school, and give you the tips and tricks you need to knock your Common App essay out of the park. So make sure you read those videos. I could do so many videos. I have done videos, many videos about Common App essays before. So I'm not going to talk about the Common App essay in this video, but if you're just learning about me and you're very intrigued about what my thoughts are on the Common App and its essay in particular and how to approach it successfully, you're going to want to watch each and every one of those videos linked below this one. Tip number 4, it's important to take seriously the University of Richmond supplement to the Common Application. The supplemental questions for the 24-25 admissions cycle have been released, and I am now going to discuss with you my thoughts on how I would approach these oh so important opportunities for you to share in your own words ideas that will make you hopefully more attractive to the admissions officer or officers reading your file at University of Richmond. One essay response is required, and you are to choose from one of the following prompts to write a 350 to 650 word essay specifically with the audience of University of Richmond in mind. This again is an essay beyond the essay you were writing on the Common App for the common portion of the Common App. Now we're talking about the actual essay that's going to Richmond and Richmond alone. And you get to choose from one of these prompts. Number 1, you have a platform to create change. What is an action or policy you might propose to address an issue of social injustice in your school or local community, or on a national or global scale? So this prompt is ideal for students who have very strong opinions about matters intersecting with social justice and your community, whether it be your hyper-local community, your school, or your overall neighborhood or town or county or city, or as large as the national community you find yourself a part of, or the world around us, the whole of humanity. If you do respond to this particular prompt, you want to treat this essay very seriously, and you want to, I think, have an introduction paragraph with a thesis that gives the reader a roadmap of what you're going to be proving in your body. And then, of course, a conclusion at the end that wraps everything else up that you've stated, but does not just repeat or regurgitate what you've already stated in the body and the intro, but actually says something new, thoughtful, thought-provoking in that final conclusion. You want the conclusion to go a step beyond the body and the thesis to leave them almost wanting even more of you. In terms of what you're going to write about, you can write about any topic that you feel like would be able to highlight how you would create positive change, hopefully not negative change, but positive change in either your local community or the world at large or anywhere in between. And what's very important, of course, also is that you need to show specifically an action or policy that you are proposing. Don't just talk in generalities about how we need to lower the global temperature by 2 degrees Fahrenheit. You have to get into the brass tacks of what is an action or policy you might propose to actually specifically address this, what you deem to be a social issue, if that is your pet issue. But again, you may talk about traffic safety. You may talk about school safety. You may talk about any other issue that is of great import to you. And so if this does not resonate with you, if there's nothing really going on in your community that you care too much about or have much passion to write about, then you can by all means not select this prompt to respond to. You have 2 other options. But in terms of how you structure it, again, always follow, I think, the tried and true approach of an intro with a thesis, a body to support your thesis, and then a conclusion that goes a step beyond the thesis. If you choose prompt number 2, this is the prompt you're going to be responding to, which is tell us about a time you learned something unexpected. What did you learn? What happened next? It's important if you choose this prompt that you do fully respond to the prompt. This is, of course, true anytime you respond to any prompt on any application, whether it be the common portion of an application or the school-specific portion of an application. What's happening here, of course, is that you can't just tell us a lovely story about a time you learned something new or unexpected. You also need to make sure that you explain explicitly what you learned and also what happened next. That's really critical. The college wants to see that you have actually applied the lesson you say you learned to your life since that episode in your life. So make sure that in the not at the conclusion alone, but in the body itself, you carve out some space, at least by the end of the body, to explain how you've actually started living a different life or approaching things differently. What is the new and improved version of yourself like? And show how you've changed vis-a-vis how you were in the beginning of that essay before the episode actually occurred. The conclusion can, of course, come to some other new, novel, thoughtful, ending. But don't just save for the last sentence or two your big portion of this essay that you need to really accomplish, which is showing the reader what happened after you learned something in this particular time in your life. Again, you're basically highlighting an episode in your life that changed you and that you were not expecting. That's how this is going to work best for you. And you need to make sure that by the end of that body, you have actually showed how you have moved on from that episode in a way that actually will prove that you've actually changed, or that your approach to life, your value system, something has fundamentally changed and set you on a new trajectory since this particular time you chose to highlight in the first half of your essay. A very interesting essay indeed. It gives you a good opportunity to show a specific story and then reflect on its meaning to you. And then if you don't like that essay or the first essay prompt, you can choose essay prompt number 3, which is Richmond welcomes students from various backgrounds, perspectives, and lived experiences. What is at least one way you will contribute to our community that is not already mentioned in your application? This essay prompt is tailor-made for those students who feel like the discontinuation of affirmative action in the United States would negatively impact their application, because here's a ready-made opportunity for you to talk about some element of your character or personal history that you're not officially allowed to be considered for in a status-oriented way, but maybe an experiential way, that University of Richmond would like to maybe have more of on their campus. But even if you feel like you are in no way on the short end of the stick as it relates to the affirmative action situation, prior to, during, or after, you may want to choose this prompt if you feel like there is some element of your life to date. That's what they used to call a lived experience, like what was your life up until this moment. Now they just use fancy multiple words to say something they could have said with just one word in the past. Life is now lived experiences, but there is a key differentiation point there, which is, of course, lived experiences may not be reality. It may just be imagined. And of course, Richmond and other colleges really care about that as well, whereas life is arguably more speaking about what actually happened truthfully, objectively, whereas lived experience is much more subjective term or terminology. But in any case, if you feel like there is something that's fundamental to who you are and what you will bring to Richmond, this could be an ideal essay for you, regardless of your race or sex or any other characteristic demographically that you would identify with or as. This could be a wonderful opportunity to talk about something that may be very tragic or funny happened to you in your life, and why that particular experience really informs how you engage with others up until this very moment, and will continue to inform how you engage with others throughout your time at Richmond and beyond. That will be a very powerful story if you feel as though you can also specifically underscore how this will positively impact the community that is the University of Richmond. All right, so don't just talk in generalities. Again, you want to get specific. I always say specificity is next to godliness. Some people say cleanliness is next to godliness, and that's true too. But in the context of writing your common application and your application for colleges and universities to get into your first year of college or university, certainly specificity is next to godliness as well. And you want to make sure that you can balance that, of course, out with seeing the forest through the trees and taking a big picture view of how this, in this case, will be a positive, net positive for your overall Richmond community, what happened to you in this particular background, perspective, or experience, developing environment that you found yourself in at some point in your life. Now, I will say, in many ways, number 2, number 3 are similar prompts. The difference, of course, is that the unexpected element of prompt number 2 adds sort of an interesting opportunity for a unique juxtaposition where you can describe sort of what you thought you were going to get out of an experience and then what you got out of the experience. And so that adds an extra wrinkle. Whereas prompt number 3 basically is more formulaic insofar as you're just going to talk about some element of your background, perspective on life, or perspectives generally, or lived experience. And then one way in which that element of who you are will contribute to Richmond as a community in a way that you have yet to mention. And that's really key for all of them. If you're regurgitating things you've already mentioned in any of these essays, if you're going to be saying it previously, let's say in your Common App essay, or maybe your teacher recommendation letters, or your counselor letter recommendation letter will already be alluding to this topic in great depth, or your resume, which I'll talk about your resume in a moment, we'll be discussing this in some way, shape, or form, then this is not a great topic for your essay for Richmond, because you don't want to be rehashing something that should have been already hashed out elsewhere or has already been hashed out elsewhere. You want to be sharing something new. So even though you're only seeing the language of not already mentioned in your application with prompt number 3, you should certainly apply that to prompt number 2 and prompt number 1 as well if you select one of those prompts to respond to for University of Richmond, which is, this should all be novel. This should all be new. This should not be content that they've heard about in your resume in any meaningful way, at least. It could have been something that happened during a day in the life in your club, but it's not content they've ever heard before. So that's the differentiation point. You can talk about something that happened to you while on the baseball team or in the Black Student Union. That's fine, but make sure that you haven't already spoken about that at all in the resume if you are going to be contextually setting your essay in something that happened to you during one of your extracurricular activities. Beyond that, it is extremely important that you understand that University of Richmond, as a member of the Common App, wants you to at least list your top 10 activities in the Common App activities page. But many strong applicants to University of Richmond will also have much more to share about those top 10 activities or other activities than that will fit in the Common App activities page. So what should you do? Well, that is my next tip, which is, and I think this is tip number 4 if I recall correctly, but maybe I've lost track. But if you have more to say about your extracurricular activities than that can fit in the Common App activities page, University of Richmond will accept more information from you stating objectively what you have achieved in the extracurricular realm since the summer before 9th grade and later. And most strong applicants to Richmond do have much more to say about their extracurricular exploits than that would fit in the activities page of the Common App. So that is why, years ago now, I created a course known as How to Build an Extraordinary Extracurricular Resume. It is linked in this video's description. I strongly recommend you purchase this course. If for no other reason, it's only $19 and it takes less than an hour to complete. And it will teach you everything you need to know, whether you're an actor or an athlete or all of the above. You may be an artist as well, for all I know, or a combination of thereof. No matter what you find yourself doing outside of the classroom, this course is tailored for you so that you understand how you can elaborate on your extracurricular activities in a full-fledged extracurricular resume that you will be able to share with University of Richmond in one way, shape, or form. You may be saying, Craig, how can I share more about my extracurricular activities if University of Richmond doesn't have a resume upload option on its supplement like some other Common App schools have? Well, there are 2 possibilities. Number 1, you could always throw a 650-word resume into the additional information section on the Common App's writing page below the essay. But make sure, if you're going to do that for Richmond, that you only include that content for Richmond, and maybe you'll include the content elsewhere for other colleges when you submit the Common App to other colleges. But the other option is, and they state it right on their website, which is Richmond allows you to share supplementary documents Specifically, supplemental documents are optional and may be submitted in addition to the required application documents. Students are encouraged to consider how their selected additional information will provide insight to their academic, professional, and personal experiences. So again, what's being stated there implicitly, of course, is that don't share anything again just for the fun of it if you've already stated it already. But if you're going to be sharing new information that they've yet to learn about you, that's where you would maybe want to consider sharing supplementary information. And in this context, if you have more to share, then that will even fit on the additional information section of the Common App's writing page. Richmond says explicitly that you can upload this supplemental documentation to your Spider portal, which you will have access to after you've submitted your University of Richmond application, or you can email it before, during, or after you've submitted your application via the Common App via the email application@richmond.edu. If you are sending supplementary materials in the form of a screenshot, please send it as an attachment to the email, as University of Richmond is not able to process screenshots that are sent within the body of an email. But again, that just goes to show that Richmond really does have an appetite for learning more about you if there is value added in sharing more. There will be most likely value added in sharing more if you've accomplished a lot, even within just one activity. And it obviously doesn't fit in the activities page because it's so character limited. And then you build out your resume in such a way as to efficiently and effectively communicate about your exploits extracurricularly when following my advice in how to build an extraordinary extracurricular resume. And my final tip is that even though they're not called interviews, they are called Spider chats of some sort. And you can take part in this conversation with a representative of University of Richmond anytime from June of your junior year through November of your application season, your senior year. And sometimes even after you've applied and maybe you've been admitted, they even sometimes allow these Spider chats to continue. But that's a great way to learn more about Richmond, both, again, before you've applied and during the pinnacle of your cycle when you're actually applying. And maybe, like I said, if you've gotten admitted, Spider chats are available to prospective students even once they've been admitted. I definitely recommend at some point in your journey with Richmond taking advantage of a Spider chat because, as University of Richmond mentions, just like there are spiders all over the world, there are University of Richmond alumni all over the world and other representatives of Richmond who may be willing and able to engage with you in a conversation about their time at Richmond, what they know about Richmond, and you can ask them questions. And again, what a great opportunity for you to learn more and actually discern whether or not maybe you want to apply early decision, early action, or just apply regular. And once you've gotten accepted, maybe this is a school that's much more attractive to you than you realize before you have a conversation with a real person representing the college or university, in this case, the University of Richmond. So I would take part in such a give and take of information because it can only serve to edify you and Richmond about what they would be getting in you, but also what you may be getting into if you ultimately matriculate into Richmond. One more piece of advice I would like to give you. Let's say that you are not willing or able to work with me throughout your entire college admissions process, but you would like my take on the quality of your application to Richmond. And you are either about to submit it to Richmond or you've already submitted it to Richmond and you want to get a read from me, yours truly, on whether or not it's in good shape. Maybe there are ways to improve it, or you should gird yourself for the best or the worst. I strongly recommend you take advantage of my latest product, which is called My Pre-Read. And My Pre-Read is just that. You are going to get so much from your pre-read, and it is a wonderful opportunity for you to get, like I said, an early take, if you take advantage of it early enough, on what in fact is working and what in fact may not be working with your application to University of Richmond. Specifically, once you've finished your Common App, you want to learn whether it's as strong as possible and whether or not, in its current condition, your chances of admission are impressive, inconclusive, or inadequate. Getting my pre-read now means having me review your entire application, just like an admissions officer or admissions committee will review it later, and receiving by email, no later than the time you reserve, a comprehensive report drafted by yours truly that will highlight what's working and what is not on your full Common App and your University of Richmond Common App supplement. If you've yet to submit your Common App, my pre-read may help motivate you to make adjustments to it before your deadline. If you've already submitted your Common App, as I alluded to moments ago, my pre-read will prepare you for what I deem to be your likely admissions outcome at the institution in question, which again, in this context, is University of Richmond. One thing is for sure, by getting through this entire video today, you have best positioned yourself to tackle the University of Richmond application with gusto and give yourself the very best shot of earning admission to University of Richmond if you're not willing to put out any money to work with me one-on-one throughout the college admissions process, or even get my pre-read on the quality of your application. So more power to you no matter what path you choose. I thank you for getting through this video today, and I enjoyed having this time with you. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and also consider subscribing to my channel. If you'd like to work with me one-on-one throughout the entire college admissions process, visit my website, which is collegemeister.com. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, and most importantly, stay stress-free throughout the entire college application process.